Hello everyone, my name is Kat Kwan, and thank you so much to John Paul for inviting me to come and speak to you all. He mentioned that you're all final year students, so it's a really exciting time for you. I remember my senior year of college just being a time of uncertainty, because I felt like for school, college, everything that was just laid out, a path laid out for me and for everyone, and then afterwards you're like, oh no, no one's telling me what the next step is. And so it has taken some time for me to figure out what I enjoy doing, and so I wanted to share my career experiences with you all in hopes that it would be useful. And I also wanted to talk today about how we can be brave and daring and go after what we're passionate about. So lots to talk about today, and I just wanted to start off by kind of sharing a little bit of background on my history. So I graduated in 2009 from MIT with a degree in electrical engineering and computer science. It's such a mouthful to say. At that time, my dream job was to work at Google, and I got rejected many times from them throughout my college career, just trying to apply to them for internships, for a full-time job. Couldn't get in, and at that point I decided to actually stay for one more year at school to do my master's. And so I was looking around for a project, and by some lucky chance I found this project that was called Mocha. Now the name is called Sana, but it was basically a telemedicine platform that the fellow students built using Android phones and an electronic medical record system. So basically for people in remote areas, healthcare workers could capture information on a phone and send it to doctors in urban areas. So anyways, this project blew my mind, and it made me realize the power of mobile phones, and I just loved everything about creating apps. And so when I applied again to Google the following year, it was such a dream to be able to work on the Android team. I still don't even know how that happened, but I got there. It was the Gingerbread release, which was many releases ago, and I learned so much working with the really amazing engineers there, product managers, designers. I learned so much. I worked on the Google Play app as well as the Google Keep app, as well as some others. But basically, when you're building apps on behalf of Google, it has to be super good. And so I learned what it takes to build a product at a professional level and have millions of users counting on the product to work. And so that was a really good crash course in building customer experiences. And then afterwards, after a couple years though, I felt like, okay, I've done this enough, and I felt like there was an opportunity where people outside the Android team were like, oh, it's so hard to build Android apps. And I was like, no, it's possible. I can do it, so you can too. But it was just that we had so many resources and all the best people working with us. And so I was trying to take that information of what I learned, and I wanted to teach it to people externally. And so that's when I switched over to the developer relations team. And so that was 3 years into my time at Google. Switched over, and we started creating educational content for developers outside of Google, and that was really fun too. We got to work with Udacity and partnered together to create Android courses for people, and we even created one for people with no programming experience. And so kind of just one thing led to another, and I felt like it was just seeing oh, there's an opportunity here. No one else is really doing it, or no one's doing it in the way that I think it can be done. And so I would shift into these areas. And so after a couple of years doing that, I wanted to do something different. And so I actually decided to leave Google after 6.5 years to start my own business and write a children's book. And I think I got a lot of really mixed reactions. People are like, what? Why are you leaving supposedly the best company to work for? And honestly, I think just my interests diverged from where the company was headed. I wanted to write a children's book. It was just something that actually I had done some drawing in the Android courses that I was doing, and I really liked explaining things through picture form. And so That's kind of how my interest in children's books started, but it was just a dream where I was like, oh, I really want to like hold in my hand a book that I've created. I just thought that was so cool. And sometimes I feel like you don't even need to justify your dreams or why you think something. Just thinking that something would be so cool to do, I think is enough. So anyways, wrote the children's book. Earlier this year I published it, I self-published it. So it was a whole long process of writing and illustrating the book and also promoting it during story times, and learned so much from that. And then I realized, yet another shift, I realized that I actually wanted to target people who were a little older than kids. So, you know, other millennials or just people who are like looking to find their way in life. And so I just found those conversations super interesting. And so I wanted to get to know people better in that aspect, because I love asking the question, oh, what do you want to do in your life? Or if you had no like restrictions, what would you be doing? And it's so interesting to hear what people say. So basically, I started working with a business coach who helped me narrow down on this idea of doing personal styling for people. And so that's where I am today, working with people to help them with fashion. And I think my work goes beyond just fashion and what people are wearing. I feel like what you wear is a huge part of how you feel about yourself, how you're willing to show up in the world. And so there's like this emotional aspect to it that is fascinating to me. And so yeah, I'm happy to say that I'm in a really good place right now. You know, it's still the early stages of my business, but I just really enjoy every opportunity that I can to either create content for my YouTube channel or my blog about style, or to work with people one-on-one. So yeah, so to get to here, it was definitely a challenging journey. So many tears, so many low moments, but also like really high highs. So I just wanted to distill down into 3 different tips that I have for following your dreams. So first, I would say that you need to tune out the outside noise. There's so much information out there with the internet and everything. It's great that there's so many tips and advice out there, but at the same time, that can really be distracting to what you're trying to do. Yes, there's benefits to taking in information, but at the same time, I feel like it's easy to get overwhelmed and your mind will just get overcrowded by all these messages out in the world. There's so many articles on like, these are the 3 tips to become successful in your career, or these are the things you absolutely must do to start a business, or here's how you go from 0 to a millionaire. All these things, and it's just other people's experiences, and sometimes I feel like I would like take classes or something to try to learn how to be successful by modeling what someone else did. But then after some time, I would like fall off the bandwagon. I wouldn't really follow their steps, or it just didn't work for me, or I don't know. It became too overwhelming because I felt like I needed to read 1,000,000 books, I needed to take 1,000,000 courses, and just always feeling like I wasn't enough, like that there was always more that I needed to do. By taking in all this information, it actually left me very little time to create things. So yeah, I think tuning out the noise and just separating that and like maybe even just capping the time limit that you spend on reading external things. And the same goes for tuning out the negativity, because there's a lot of negativity out there. People who say you can't do it, and sometimes that can even come from loved ones in your life, and it's really ironic, I guess, because these are the people who love you the most and want the best for you, but at the same time, sometimes they can be giving you these messages like, oh, that idea is not gonna work, or why are you wasting your time on that? That was like the hardest thing for me to overcome, like not even getting a negative comment from some random stranger on the internet, but getting a negative comment from someone in my life who knew me. That's where you kind of have to separate all of that external stuff from who you are. By making that separation, you start to realize that what you're looking for, or the answer to what you want to do next, or what action you should take next, doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from reading a bunch of books or like consulting experts, even coaches, mentors. The answer actually comes from within you. So that leads me to my second point, which is listening to your inner voice. That is so important. And I felt like at the beginning of this journey, like my inner voice was like so tiny. It was like a dot. Like it barely even existed because I had been drowning it out with all this external noise. So I basically had a hard time distinguishing distinguishing between my voice and other people's voices, because like even when it came to a small decision like, oh, what do you want to eat, or like what do you want to wear, like I felt like I couldn't make decisions. I was so indecisive because I was afraid of making the wrong decision. I would doubt myself. I would be like, maybe what I want to wear is incorrect. Maybe I shouldn't be wearing that. And so I think that's where you mix the messages from what other people think is right with what you think is right. And it only comes with practice, listening to that inner voice, and allowing it to grow bigger. And things that helped me listen to my inner voice was journaling, because there's something about journaling where just like the truth just comes out, especially if you make sure that no one's gonna read this. When it's just for you, then you just like are honest, and you can be angry, you can be selfish in your journal pages, you can be resentful, anything you want you can say. There's no need to be like politically correct, or just you don't have to worry about hurting someone else's feelings because it's your journal. And I think that's when I started to identify more of like what I was wanting in my life. The other thing that helps with listening to your inner voice is silence, or just like being by yourself. I felt like I had booked out my schedule so full. Like I would be doing things every single night. I'd be seeing friends, I would be doing work events, and like I just never stopped. I was just so busy. It would just feel so weird. Like if I had a night on my own at home, I would be like, okay, I would feel so antsy, like what should I do? I'm not being productive, I'm wasting my time. But it's actually in those moments where you're like most at peace, and there is no outside noise, and you can just be by yourself, and then you can listen to your inner voice, and you can start to reflect and think like, oh, am I happy? Am I looking forward to what I have coming up? Or does this person in my life really drain me? Or am I really worried about something? Like I feel like that alone time is super helpful. I think another part of listening to your inner voice is having integrity for yourself. That's like being true to your word even when no one's watching, you know? These are all things to be a good moral human being, but at the same time, I tried to live up to that, but at the same time I feel like I was betraying myself. It's such a hard thing for me to think about because I have such high standards for myself. I want to do the best I can. I want to create something great for the world. I want to be useful to the world, and I also want to be happy. And so there's like, I have such a high expectation for what I do with my life, such that like it was so much pressure for me. And I think I would like constantly beat myself up over things that I couldn't do. Like if I couldn't like publish my book fast enough, or if I couldn't like finish my to-do list, or if I couldn't get to the gym on a regular basis, or if I couldn't cook healthy meals at home, like I would always take it out on myself, and I would always be like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I do these things? These are like basic human things that adults should do, and I can't even like follow through with them. And I feel like what really helped was having supportive people around me, and just who were really encouraging and who really believed that I had the potential to like fulfill my dreams and have everything that I wanted. And I think it was like only over repeated, them saying it to me over and over again and tuning out the other negative voices, that I was able to start to believe that for myself. And also affirmations helped me a lot. There's a bunch on YouTube, positive affirmations and just positive motivational videos that like are really uplifting, because I think like all those positive messages that really, where you cherish yourself and the gifts that you have, and it's basically not putting yourself in a victim mindset. It's giving you like responsibility and choice in your life to determine your destiny. And so I think like not being so hard on myself and really learning to accept and love myself has helped me just feel a lot better. Just feel like there's not so much pressure on me. I feel like what has transformed the most is my relationship to myself. And what I was saying earlier about integrity, you also want to have integrity for yourself. So like if you promise yourself like, I'm gonna go to the gym like twice a week, or I'm going to stay home on this night and not schedule anything so I can rest, it means sticking to that, because I feel like I would make these promises to myself, and then like maybe someone would ask me, oh, do you want to have coffee that day or get together? And I'd be like, okay, and I would just like blow off the promise that I made to myself to stay at home to rest, because I knew that that's what I needed. And so I feel like by trying to honor myself and my promises to myself better, I feel like I can love myself better, because I feel like I'm treating myself better, and also that I can have confidence that the plans that I make, I can stand by, because I felt like my life was just so off balance. Like I felt like I was like a plant or something in the wind, where like I could just get knocked over at any point based on circumstances in my life. Or if someone was like, oh, I really need you to come over on this day, and I'd be like, okay, and I would drop everything for that. And so I think by honoring myself better, I can listen to my needs first and be like, okay, like, am I able to help this person? Or is this thing that someone's asking from me really is this something that I can do? Or is this something that maybe they could get better help elsewhere from? And so it's a tricky balance, but I feel like acknowledging what I need has given me more self-respect. And I feel like when you respect yourself, then and you tell other people like, oh, this is what I need, then other people respect you more as well. And so it's just, I feel like things are more calm and not so crazy. Through this process, I've been able to trust myself more. When we're talking about like listening to our inner voice, I felt like if I even heard it, I didn't know if I could trust it. If I made a decision like to switch into fashion for my career, like I didn't know, like, should I trust that instinct, or is this just gonna lead me down like a dead-end path? And so I think you build that trust with yourself by continuing to make decisions and then seeing how they turn out. And all you can do is really make the best decision you can with the information available at that time. And if you continually do the best you can, then like if something goes wrong, which it will, then you can be like, well, like I wouldn't have made any other decision. So it's easier to take responsibility over these things, because you know like that you're not blaming someone else, like you didn't give up your power to someone else. So far what we've covered is that to follow your dreams, I recommend tuning out the external noise and not believing that everyone else out there knows what's best for you. Second, listening to your inner voice and also trusting yourself. And the third thing is to really follow your joy. And it's weird, but I feel like joy is something that's really hard for me to experience. I mean, I have like little joys, like I tend to be a positive person, and I get really giddy about little things and stuff like that, but to really fully experience joy, I feel like can also be an uncomfortable feeling if you're so used to like beating yourself up, or if you're so used to like suffering, if that makes sense. And I feel like I would inflict suffering on myself by worrying so much or being so anxious. And so if something positive happened, I would be like, well, it wasn't that great. Or I would downplay it, or I would be like, well, this worked out, but now I have to worry about this other thing and stuff. So I would always like minimize anything that was like super amazing that happened in my life. So it's hard for me to really sit in joy. But I mean, I'm slowly getting used to it and allowing myself to do that. And I think I've done that through like giving myself treats. You know, it can be really small treats, but like, you know, allowing myself to go to the store and buy like a really unhealthy junk food item. That's like my treat for the day. Or if I really want to check out this like cafe or this restaurant, I'll just go by myself and I'll treat myself to it. And so just like letting myself have these moments of like guilt-free joy, I think has helped me enjoy life better. And when you have these moments of pure joy, especially when you're doing some type of work or service for others, you start to get a hint that maybe this could be what you're passionate about, or this is something where you could really shine at, because, you know, like they say, like, it's not really work, it feels like play. And so for me, that was like going shopping, looking at fashion, or learning about it online, or just online shopping until the wee hours of the night. And so these were things that just like made me really happy. And like, if I had a day off, if I gave myself a day off, like, I'd be at the mall. So I think those can be hints for those of you if you don't know what you're passionate about. And you can have like many passions, because I feel like I have a lot of passions too. Like, the other thing is I love going to restaurants and trying new foods and trying new experiences around the Bay Area. I feel like I have like an adventurous spirit where I like to just experience things and just try them out. It feels really good to be able to know what I like doing. And so yeah, that just comes with trying a bunch of things and seeing if you like them or not. Another way to think about it is to follow your curiosity. So the name of my business is actually called One Curious Cat, and I created it to publish my children's book, but I kept the name as I switched into personal styling. But I feel like I've reflected a lot on the word curious, you know, like I think that word like is super important, because I think that's what has led me through my career, twists and turns, through these unexpected paths. I feel like what has attracted me and pulled me in new directions is my curiosity. I like, you know, at Google, I was like, I wonder what it'd be like if I, you know, taught people Android. And so then I made that team switch. Or I wonder what it'd be like to be an author. And so I was just so curious about the self-publishing process. And now I'm curious about people getting makeovers and, you know, looking like a better version of themselves. And so what has been the thread that has strung all these experiences together is that it started with my curiosity in something. And it was just a very small curiosity sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, like sometimes your gut, or you get an instinct or an impulse that, oh, this thing might be interesting, like an event or an article or something, and then you just keep listening to it more and keep trying it out, and you just go from there. Keep your heart open to the possibilities, and yeah, just have fun with it. I pulled together a little worksheet if you still have time, and you know, just some questions to help you start thinking about what you want in life, what you're passionate about. And also at the end of it too, it would be great if you found someone or a small group to talk about these answers with, because also when you talk to people about your dreams, it just makes it more real, and also it gives people an opportunity to like lift you up and encourage you to go for those dreams. But you have to be careful with who you share your dreams with. But I assume that in this environment is a safe environment where, you know, you're all looking for something similar, looking for something for a fulfilling life. So yeah, thank you so much for being here today and letting me share my story. You can reach out to me. My Instagram is @kat.kwan, and my blog is whatkatfoundout.com, where cat is spelled K-A-T. I just want to wish you the best of luck. I know you're gonna go off and do really amazing things. Bye!